Hello class 8 student, welcome to our civics class. Today we are going to learn something about our fundamental rights and duties in this chapter, which is chapter 2 of your civics book. Fundamental rights and duties. In this chapter you will study about human rights, fundamental rights and duties, fundamental rights, article 12 to 35. Fundamental duties. Human rights. Every human being has the right to live a human life and to be treated equally. Discrimination on the basis of class, color, creed, sex or religion should not be there. Every human being has the right to life, education and health. These rights have deep roots in the national struggle for independence. Several violations of human rights have occurred in the past under colonial rule. Thus, it was necessary to incorporate them as fundamental rights in the constitution of several countries. When India was framing its constitution, it had certain international declarations in mind. Those declarations encouraged India to affirm, adopt, and enact human rights in the form of fundamental rights in its constitution. Declaration of the Rights. A legacy of the French Revolution of 1789 in the Constitution of France. Bill of Rights. The Constitution of the United States of America in 1791. Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the UN Assembly on 10th December 1948. Fundamental rights and duties. For the effective working of a democratic setup, certain rights and duties are a must. Every independent country has its own constitution. So our Indian constitution has granted some fundamental rights and fundamental duties to its citizens. India is a federation, still strong central government. Fundamental rights, Article 12 to 35. Fundamental rights are considered to be an essential element for the holistic growth of the individuals. The Constitution grants us the basic rights that are called fundamental rights. Our Constitution lays down effective and clear procedure for the enforcement of the fundamental right. There are 6 types of fundamental rights given to the citizen which guarantee the ideals of equality, liberty and justice. First, right to equality, Article 14 to 18. The Indian Constitution guarantees equality to all before the law. The state cannot discriminate a citizen on the basis of religion, caste, creed or place of birth. Untouchability is abolished by Article 17 and is considered punishable by the law. There is a provision of reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. All citizens are treated equally by the laws. There is also reservation for backward classes in government services. Reservation is actually a positive discrimination. Abolition of titles is also included in right to equality. Right to freedom, Article 19 to 22. The fundamental rights guarantee 6 basic freedoms to the Indian citizens as listed below. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully without arms, freedom to form association and union, freedom to reside and settle in any part of the country, freedom to practice any profession or to carry any occupation, trade or business, freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India, protection in respect of conviction for an offence, protection of life and personal liberty, protection against arbitrary arrest and detention, right to education. This is the image of our Constituent Assembly sitting and asking for freedom. Do you know the right to education was included in the Constitution in 2002 for the first time as a fundamental right? According to this, the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all the children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. Right against exploitation, Article 23 to 24. The dignity of individuals are recognized and protected against any type of exploitation by the Indian Constitution. Trafficking in human beings, begging and forced labor are prohibited by law. The Indian Constitution also prohibits children below the age of 14 to work in a factory and to involve in a dangerous work like duty in mines and hazardous occupations. Fourth, right to freedom of religion, Article 25 to 28. Freedom of conscience and right to profess, practice and propagate any religion. Freedom to manage its own affairs in matters of religion. The state will not collect any taxes for promotion of any particular religion. No religious instructions can be provided in any educational institutions which is wholly maintained out of state fund. Fifth, cultural and educational rights, Article 29 to 30. The Indian Constitution provides right to minorities. The Indian people have the right to conserve their script, language and culture. Admission to any educational institution shall not be denied on the grounds of religion, caste and creed. Every section has the right to establish and administer educational institution of his her choice. This right is mainly for protection of interest of minority. Right to constitutional remedies. Article 32 to 35. The Constitution of India has not only listed fundamental rights but has also prescribed remedies against their violation. In order to enforce this, a special right called the right to constitutional remedies has been included in the Indian Constitution. By this right, citizens are entitled to move the court in case they are denied of a right. She may request the High Court / Supreme Court to issue the appropriate writ for the restoration of her rights. The writs are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto and certiorari. Do you know? The power of issuing writs is given to Supreme Court to ensure the enjoyment of rights by the people and to restore their rights in case of any violation. The 5 types of writs are: first, habeas corpus. This means an unlawfully detained person has to be produced before the court to find out whether the detention was legal or not. It is the most valuable right for the protection of personal liberty. Second, mandamus. This writ is issued when a public servant has failed to perform a duty. In such a case, the court ordered the concerned official to perform the duty not performed earlier. Third, prohibition. This means or to forbid. This writ is normally issued by a superior to the lower court, asking it not to proceed with a case which does not fall under its jurisdiction. Fourth, quo warranto. This is a writ which is issued to restrain a person from acting in a public office to which she not entitled. Certiorari. This means to be more fully informed of. If a superior court wants some additional information or records from a lower court, then to enable itself to deal with the case more effectively, the writ may be issued. Right to information. It came into force on 12th October 2004. It includes the right to get documents, records and information. It brings transparency in the administration. Right to property was deleted from fundamental rights by the 44th Amendment Act, amendment passed in 1978. These fundamental rights protect the citizens against the misuse of power by the government or some institutions or individuals. Therefore, fundamental rights are justiciable and are protected by the court. In case of fundamental right is violated, one move to the court of law and seek justice. This means that our fundamental rights are not absolute or unlimited. The Constitution has imposed certain restrictions to check abuse of rights. Besides, the state is allowed to impose some reasonable restrictions in the interest of public order, decency, morality, etc. The fundamental rights are an effort to establish a welfare state which aims at promoting justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Our Constitution seeks to get rid of exploitation in all forms and manners. Fundamental duties. Fundamental duties were added to our Constitution in 1976 through 42nd Amendment. The fundamental duties are to promote patriotism among the citizens and to help them to strengthen the nation. There are 11 fundamental duties for all the citizens of India. They are obligations and every citizen is expected to perform them. These are as following: to abide by the Constitution and respect the ideals and institution, the national flag and the national anthem, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so, to promote harmony and a spirit of common brotherhood among all the people of India, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture, to protect and improve the natural environment including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures, to develop scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform, to safeguard public property and to adjure violence, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Parents or guardians should provide opportunities for education of his/her child or ward between the age of 6 and 14. Do you know? Fundamental duties are taken from the Constitution of USSR. India has a single integrated judicial system. Summing up, our Indian Constitution has granted some fundamental rights and fundamental duties to its citizens. India is a federation with strong central government. The basis of fundamental rights granted to us by our Constitution is human rights. There are 6 types of fundamental rights given to the citizens: right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies. Fundamental duties were added to our constitution in 1976 through 42nd Amendment. Thank you class. Let's meet in the next chapter.